Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another exciting session on Unacademy Catalyst. Today, I'm going to talk about no mocks for the next week. What alternatives do we have to improve? Okay, that will be the topic of discussion for the next 15 minutes. I'm going to give you a lot of excellent tricks and strategies, probably which you have not followed, and which will definitely help you to do well on the exam day. But before that, as always, the first thing I will tell you is let's wait for 10 seconds to ensure that I'm streaming live before we get started with today's session. Perfect. I think we are streaming live and we are good to start. So, good morning again. I'm Parikshit and I am your Quants and DILR expert on the Unacademy platform. I have over 7+ years of teaching experience with a 99.8 plus percentile in Maharashtra CET as well as the CAT. Let's get started with today's session. Okay, so CAT 2020, no mocks for the next week. Now, I interact with a lot of students, and one thing which is coming out from most of you is the mock scores are simply not improving. So what should we do in these last 20 days? Now, trust me, first of all, you need to realize that the mocks are just like a practice match. It's like a cricket match. Will you agree with me? It's just like a cricket match, right? No matter how many practice matches you play, you still might end up with a duck on the main exam day or during your main match or vice versa. You might be not scoring really well in your practice matches, but on the D-day, you perform really well. So remember, mocks are just like cricket matches, nothing else. Now, if you are not doing well in your mocks, this video is meant for you. If your scores have consistently been low, this video is meant for you. Now, what I would suggest, okay, and these are based on analysis over the last 7-8 years that I have been teaching. Stop giving mocks for 1 week. Stop giving mocks for 1 week. So today is the 3rd of November and we are looking for 1 week time. So this is the 10th of November. 3rd to the 10th of November, I would say stop giving mocks. So what would you do rather? You would at this point of time, you need to go back and look at the previous mocks and diagnose the problem. That is very important. Without diagnosing the problem, you cannot go ahead and play the next match, right? You first need to understand where the problem lies. So for this, you need to go back to the previous mocks that you have attempted and perform a deep analysis. Now, when I say a deep analysis, I would break it into two parts. A part which is very easy to improve and the other part which is not so easy. Not so easy. Okay. Now, when I say a easy part to improve, now here is something, please take a note of it. Now, when I say easy part, right, now go back and probably look at your quants or probably look at your vocab, okay, or your verbal section. Now, probably you might want to look at your verbal section. Which mock? The last 5 mocks that you attempted, the last 5 mocks. Now, probably there are many passages, okay. I would call it passage 1, passage 2, passage 3, and let's say passage 4. If you have attempted a mock where passage 1 was really difficult, passage 2 was really difficult, passage 3 was moderate, and let's say passage 4 was easy. Did you score low in this mocks and has this been a consistent trend throughout? The same holds true for your LRDI section as well. LRDI, this is very, very true. You know what? The first puzzle 1 is very difficult. Puzzle 2 is very difficult. But the last 2 puzzles are probably easy. Puzzle 5 is easy. Did you score low in this particular mock? If yes, you need to check, and this is you who will need to answer. Was it because I spent 20+ minutes on the first 2 or 3 questions? on the first 2 or 3 questions. Very, very, very important. If so, it is because you are used to attempting in serial order and hence your question selection is wrong. And because of this, you are not able to perform well in your mocks. One main criteria. And I would say this is very easy to improve. This is very easy to improve. So how do you diagnose this problem? The problem is you identify the problem. You have been attempting questions in serial order, and every time the first 2 or 3 sets are difficult. Holds true mostly for verbal as well as for LRDI, right? Because quants, there are just 1 or 2 liners. You realize that you do not understand the problem, you move to the next. But in verbal and LRDI, it's long sets, long passages that you often need to read, right? Now you understand you have got it wrong and the problems were actually difficult. Now what do you need to do is the next question. Okay, now talk about verbal first. Talk about verbal first. Now in verbal, probably you can take the last 5-6 mocks. The more the analysis you do, the greater the number of mocks that you take for analysis, the better it is. Find out the genre of these verb passages. Probably every time there has been a passage, let's say related to sports. You know what? You have got 4 out of the 4 questions, you have got 3 questions correct. But every time there is a passage on, let's say, philosophy. Classify the passages. Please classify the passages. You get it wrong. So how do you classify it? You prepare an Excel sheet. You prepare an Excel sheet wherein you will mark. You know how will you prepare this Excel sheet? Okay, let me just create some space and then write it. You prepare an Excel sheet wherein you will mark all details. Okay, so let's say I will mark it as mock 1, mock exam 1. Okay, passage 1. Categorize it. Probably you mark it as philosophy. Okay, passage 2. Probably you will mark it as religion. Okay, similarly mock 2. And then color these cells. Probably color code these cells. Every time out of the 4 you get less than 3 correct. Probably you attempted and you got just 2 correct. Make it red color. Out of the 4 you are able to get 3 or more correct. Make it green color. Green or red. Now once you have a complete Excel, you have a lot of data. At least you do that for 5 mocks. You know what? The good part will be at the end of 5 mocks, you will have a subset. You will have a small Excel sheet where you will have some colors, red and green. Moment it is green, you realize that okay, probably these are the topics I am comfortable with, and you know what, I am getting questions from these topics generally correct. Now what would you do? It's very simple. On the exam day, you would just glance at the passages. Just glance. I don't say read. Moment you read the first 2-3 sentences, you understand, okay, this passage is from physics, this passage is literature. Okay, now I understand, and if it falls in your green bucket, that should be the passage you should be attempting first. Do you get the point? Similarly, if it is a red bucket, please concentrate on improving it. Every time if you are getting a passage on philosophy wrong, every time you see it's a red color in your Excel sheet, please try to read more and more philosophy passages over the next few days that are remaining at this point of time. That is categorization 1. The other categorization could be, okay, there is no specific way of, it's not like I get religion wrong every time. It's not like I get literature wrong every time. If I do analysis, every time I realize sometimes philosophy is getting wrong, sometimes sports is getting wrong, sometimes religion is getting wrong. Okay, it means it is not the topic that bothers you. What bothers you probably is the questions, are the questions at the end. So in such cases where you have got the questions wrong, please look at the questions. What type of questions are you getting it wrong? Is it that the tone of the author is something that you are not able to identify in any of the mocks? Or is it an inference based question that you are not able to identify? Or probably questions like which of these strengthens the author's argument, right? Then you need to go back and work on your basics for this specific set of questions. So please make sure that you identify the problem area. if it's about rephrasing, if it's about putting a paragraph in proper sequence in verbal, are you able to get it correct? If not, please go back to the basics and revisit again one more time. So this is an easy part to do. It won't take much time. So I say stop mocks for the next week. For the next 7 days, concentrate on the problems that you're facing and working on improving these problems. I hope I'm making myself clear. The second point that I need to talk about is, okay, I have talked about verbal. The second point that I need to talk about is LRDI. LRDI, okay. Now in LRDI, it is very, very important that you know what are you comfortable with. There are times when probably if the data is less, you know what, if the data is less, there are just 5 lines. I always tend to get such questions correct because the data is less. Similarly, if you have attended any of my class, you must have seen sometimes it's a long passage and there are 6 pointers, statement 1, 4, 5, 6. You know what? If you have read statement 1, okay, I say statement 1 is Ram is not adjacent to Sita, who is not adjacent to Gautam. So put some symbolical notations. Ram is adjacent to Sita but Sita is not adjacent to Gautam. Some symbol you put. Moment you put that symbol, strike out statement 1. When I say strike out, you write down the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and strike out this one. Why? Because at the end of the day, during the CAT, your brain needs to focus on less information. Trust me, if you give your brain less information in front of you, instead of long English sentences, your brain tends to process that information faster and you will be fast in your calculations. So similarly, if you have read number 3 completely, strike that out so that never again will you read statement 3 again. Why? Because the data has been put in a symbolical form in your sheet, in your rough sheet. So please make sure that way you will increase your speed. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is selection of the correct sets. As I said in one of my previous videos, please make sure that you have actually gone through all the 5 sets before deciding which set to attempt. Okay, so if you're on your screen, if you see 1, 2, 3 and 4, these are your 4 buttons on the screen. Similarly, question 5 is here. Please, by default, your screen appears on 1. Read it, just have a glance. Moment you have a glance, you know the topic from where it has come. Then click on question 5. Moment you click on 5, you know, okay, question 5 is from games on tournaments. Then click on 9. So you need to do 5 clicks and it will take you through all the 5 sets. And then you decide which set to attempt. Similarly, prepare an Excel sheet for LRDI as well. In that Excel sheet, point out the areas, point out the topics which you are getting correct. Probably questions on arrangement, a linear arrangement, a circular arrangement. You are always getting it correct, right? So make a note of it in your Excel sheet because you know on the exam day, if such a question comes from arrangements, you got to attempt it first. Next, I will talk about my favorite portion, right? Quants. Next, let's talk about my favorite portion, quants. Okay. So in quants, right, it is again very, very important that you are preparing an Excel sheet for the mocks that you have already given. In your Excel sheet, have all the chapters, list out the chapters like linear equation, time, speed, distance, time and work. Probably there are around 20 chapters, right? List out all the 20 chapters in a row, in a column, okay? Then what do? Put mock 1 here, mock 1, mock 2, mock 3 and at least take data of 5 mocks. Type which mock you are getting the linear equations questions correct and wrong. So probably at the end of 5 mocks, you would realize that out of a total of 5 questions, I got 2 correct, 40%. Now 40%, again, it could be because the questions were really, really tough. Then probably it's fine. You just revise those mock questions once again and you are good to go to the next chapter. But you know what? At times, very often at times, you would realize that out of the 5, 3 were easy and 2 were moderate. But I still could manage only 2 correct out of the 5 questions that have appeared over a period of 5 mocks. What does it mean? It means you need to go back to the basics again and revise one more time. And revise one more time. Very, very, very important. Please do not keep giving mocks unless you have worked on a strategy to improve. Even up till 10th of November, if you do not write any mocks, okay, after 10th, 11th to 28th, you probably have 18 days. 18 days, you can write at least 3 to 4 mocks. But it would make sense if you actually work on your areas of weakness. What are the problems that are going wrong? Like a doctor, you diagnose the problem and then actually go for your next match, which is probably you'll take it on the 11th. So do not keep writing mocks, especially if your scores have been low. Find out why my scores have been low and what do I do to improve it. Okay. Now, that's something which is very, very, very important at this point of time in your preparation. Now, there could also be scenarios where you have not picked up or completed some chapters, right? A chapter could be something like statistics you have not touched, median, geometric mean, mode, right? These are topics, probably they are easy, you have heard about them, but you're not very comfortable solving questions on them, CAT level questions. Then this is the time, the 7 days that you take out from the mocks to actually go back to those chapters as well and learn them and learn those chapters. At the end of the day, remember whether you attempt the question or not is not decided by, let's say you're very good in time, speed and distance. Very, very, very good. But there is still a chance that on the exam day, a question that appears from time, speed and distance is very tough. In that case, will you be able to do it? We don't know. Even if you're able to do it, you end up taking 5 minutes. Was it a wise decision? Probably not. So do not have predetermined sets of questions in mind. Rather be prepared for everything. When I say be prepared, questions like trigonometry, from trigonometry, they could be very easy. If they are very easy, the level of difficulty is just 1. Should you be attempting this question? Yes. But if you have not prepared, then you will not be able to attempt. So remember, in the CAT and in your next mock as well, judge a question with the LOD, with the level of difficulty, rather than from the topic, especially in quants. For verbal, this definitely holds true what I said at the start. I said pick out areas which you are comfortable with. Let's say religion, let's say sports. And if you get a passage, solve that first. In LRDI, the same holds true. But what about quants? Quants, I would suggest make sure that you do all chapters, because you do not know from which chapter you might end up with a level of difficulty 1 question. And if you get a level of difficulty 1, it has to be attempted, right? So your target before November 29 in your mocks should at least be 90 percentile. At least be 90 percentile. At least. If you can get minimum 90 percentile in your mocks before the D-Day on the 29th, you will actually be really, really confident walking into the exam room on the 29th. Because you know, come what may, I am well prepared for it. Okay? Anything that you wish to ask at this point? Anything that you wish to ask at this point? And also, I mentioned about the Excel sheet. Please start writing down formulas on the Excel sheet that you might want to revise a day before the CAT. Questions like geometry theorems, angle bisector theorem. If it is not there in your mind, please write it in an Excel sheet. If you do not know probably theorems on the tangents and the secants of a circle, please write them down on a sheet of paper, all theorems on 1 page, such that a day before the exam you can actually revise once and it is fresh in your mind. It should not be, I do not remember the theorem and hence I am not able to solve the sum. Yes? Anything that you all wish to ask at this point before we break? A lot of students are live. If you have any questions that you might have, you might feel free to answer. Feel free to ask, sorry. Anything that you all wish to ask? And one more thing. So in case someone has access to Unacademy Plus, and if you have not done coordinate geometry yet, today I am starting tonight, 10 p.m. I am starting coordinate geometry for the CAT. 8 hours of sessions, A to Z, everything will be covered in coordinate geometry. If you have tonight, 10 p.m. Raat ko 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. I am starting coordinate geometry, 8 hours session. So 2 hours, 4 days, A to Z. If you have not done coordinate geometry still, you can join me live tonight at 10 p.m. My name is Parikshit. You can search me with this name on the Unacademy platform and you will get the link. If you have not subscribed to Plus, you can always subscribe to Plus using my referral code Parikshit Sakia. You get 10% off. We are also doing exclusive courses for SNAP, ZAP and other non-CAT examinations. So you can definitely go for a 2 or 3 month subscription and be there with Unacademy till your GDPI, right? So that's it for today. Priya is saying maximum marks. Is it important before the exam? Priya, no, maximum marks. No, Priya, maximum marks is definitely not important. It is not the quantity that is important. It is rather the quality of questions that you do. Please do not try to give 7 marks or 10 marks in these last 20 days. No point. Rather give 1 mark and analyze it over 7 to 8 hours. That would make more sense. So remember, quality and not quantity is what matters. Anything else that you all wish to ask before we break? Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed the session. If you have liked my session, please do hit the like button and I'll be really grateful for you for that. Thank you so much and I see you tomorrow in my next session on Unacademy CAT-alyst tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Till then, stay safe.